The morning sun rose slowly over the red earth of Kijana village, spreading soft gold light across mud houses, tall grasses and winding footpaths. Roosters crowed, goats bleated. Women swept their yards with short brooms, raising thin clouds of dust. Somewhere far away, a drum sounded once, then went quiet, like a heartbeat testing the day. No one noticed Amina at first. She walked alone along the narrow path that led from the river toward the center of the village. She was a young woman, not yet married, with tired eyes and a calm face. Her dress was plain blue, faded from many washes. Over her shoulder hung a small brown bag made of goat skin. It was a bag she had carried for years, ever since her mother died. Inside it, she usually kept only simple things: dried maize, a comb, a piece of cloth, sometimes a small calabash of water. But today the bag felt heavy. Not heavy like food, not heavy like stone. Heavy like a secret. Amina had noticed it before dawn. She had woken while the village still slept, the air cold and quiet. The fire had died, leaving only ash. As she reached for her bag, her fingers touched something hard inside, something that had not been there the night before. At first, she thought someone was playing a joke. But when she opened the bag, her breath stopped. Inside lay a strange object, wrapped in black cloth tied with red fibre. The cloth smelled of smoke, iron and old blood. Symbols were carved into the surface beneath the cloth. She could feel them through the fabric, sharp and uneven like teeth. The air around the bag felt cold, even near the fire pit. Amina did not scream, she did not cry. She only stared, her heart beating fast like running feet. She had grown up with stories. In Kijana village, elders told tales under the moon, stories of cursed objects, of spirit tools, of things that must never be touched by common hands. Hunters spoke of charms found in the forest that could kill a man just by being carried. Old women whispered about objects that walked on their own at night. Amina tied the bag closed and stood up slowly. She did not know who put the object there. She did not know why it chose her. But she knew one thing. This was not something to keep. By the time the sun rose fully, Amina was already walking toward the police station at the edge of the nearby town. It was a long walk, past tall grass and acacia trees, past termite mounds shaped like broken towers. Birds flew overhead, crying sharply, as if warning the land. With every step, the bag felt heavier. The wind picked up, rustling the grass. Once Amina thought she heard a whisper from the bag. She stopped, listening. There was nothing, only the wind and the far sound of drums from another village. Still, fear crawled up her spine. The police station stood alone near the road, a square cement building painted pale yellow. Two officers sat outside under a small tree, talking and laughing softly. Amina slowed her steps. Her mouth was dry. She took a deep breath and walked forward. "Good morning," she said quietly. The officers looked up. One was young, the other older, with grey in his beard. They nodded. "What brings you here so early?" the older one asked. Amina held up her bag with shaking hands. "I found something in my bag," she said. "I do not know what it is. I think it is dangerous." The younger officer laughed. "Dangerous? Is it a snake?" "No," Amina said, "worse." The laughter faded. The older officer stood up. "Come inside," he said. Inside the station, the air was cool and smelled of paper and dust. A wooden desk stood near the wall. A calendar with a faded picture of a lion hung crookedly. A small radio sat silent in the corner. Amina placed the bag on the desk. "My bag was empty last night," she said. "This morning this was inside." The older officer nodded slowly. "Open it." Her hands trembled as she untied the strap. She unfolded the black cloth. The moment the object was revealed, everything changed. The room went silent. Then, a scream. The younger officer stumbled backward, hitting the wall. Another officer who had been writing in the back room rushed forward, then froze. His pen dropped to the floor. The older officer's face drained of colour. The object lay exposed on the desk. It was a small carved figure made of dark wood, shaped like a human but twisted. Its head was too large. Its mouth was open in a silent cry. Tiny metal nails were driven into its chest, arms and eyes. Around its neck hung a thin chain of bone beads. The symbols carved into its body glowed faintly red, like dying embers. The air felt thick, heavy, hard to breathe. "Close it," someone whispered. "Do not touch it," another voice said. Amina stood frozen as fear spread through the room like fire through dry grass. "This is not ordinary," the older officer said slowly. "This is not village magic." Outside, a shout rose. Someone screamed again. Within minutes, people gathered near the station. Whispers filled the air. "What is it? Why are the police shouting? Is it a curse?" An old man passing by stopped when he saw the object through the open door. His walking stick fell from his hand. "Ancestor spirits," he whispered. "That thing should not be here." The officers quickly covered the object again, but the fear had already escaped. News travels fast in African soil. By midday, elders from Kijana village arrived. Hunters came, their faces tight. Even a local chief's messenger appeared, breathing hard from running. An elder named Mzee Baraka, tall and bent with age, stepped forward. His eyes were sharp despite his years. "Who brought this thing?" he asked. Amina stepped forward. "I did." All eyes turned to her. "You carried it," a woman cried. "Are you mad?" "I did not choose it," Amina said softly. "It was in my bag when I woke." Mzee Baraka studied her carefully, then he nodded once. "This object is called Enkoro Yadamu," he said, "the blood keeper." A murmur spread through the crowd. "It is a forbidden spirit tool," the elder continued. "Used long ago by mountain cults, it feeds on fear, blood and betrayal. It is not meant for police stations or villages." The police chief swallowed. "What should we do with it?" The elder closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were dark. "If it has chosen her bag," he said, pointing to Amina, "then her life is already tied to it." Amina felt her knees weaken. "The spirits do not choose without reason," the elder added. "This is only the beginning." Thunder rumbled in the distance, though the sky was clear. A cold wind swept through the station, blowing papers from the desk. For a brief moment, the wrapped object seemed to move under the cloth. Amina stared at the bag, her heart pounding. She had only wanted to do the right thing. But now the whole village knew. And something ancient had awakened. The wind did not stop after the screams at the police station. It followed Amina all the way back to Kijana village, moving through the tall grass like a living thing. Dust rose in small circles around her feet as she walked, her bag now empty but her chest heavy. People no longer looked at her the same way. Their eyes followed her steps. Their whispers touched her back like cold fingers. She carried it. The spirits chose her. Bad things follow such people. Amina kept her head down. By the time she reached the village, the sun had begun to slide westward. Shadows stretched long between the huts. Children who usually ran to greet her pulled back and hid behind their mothers' legs. Dogs growled softly as she passed. She stopped in front of her small hut near the baobab tree. Smoke rose gently from nearby cooking fires, but the smell of food did not comfort her. The air felt tight, like before a storm. Inside her hut, everything looked the same. Her sleeping mat lay rolled in the corner. Her mother's old clay pot sat near the wall, but something was wrong. The silence was too deep. As Amina sat down, her hands began to shake. She had done what she thought was right. She had taken the object to the police, yet fear had only grown, not ended. The elder's words echoed in her mind. If it has chosen her bag, then her life is already tied to it. She pressed her palms together and whispered a prayer to the ancestors, the same prayer her mother used to say when danger came near. That night, sleep did not come easily. Crickets sang outside. The wind brushed the hut walls. Somewhere far away, drums beat slowly, calling spirits or warning them away. Amina lay awake, staring at the dark roof. Then she heard it. A soft sound, like wood scraping wood. Her breath caught, she sat up slowly. The sound came again, closer this time. Her bag lay near the door where she had placed it earlier. It was empty. She knew it was empty. Still, the bag moved. Just a little. Amina's heart pounded loudly in her ears. She did not scream, she did not move, she watched. The bag twitched again. Then stopped. Silence returned, thick and heavy. Amina whispered, "Ancestors, protect me." The night passed slowly, one breath at a time. At dawn, the village elders gathered beneath the great baobab tree. News of the object had spread beyond Kijana. Messengers had arrived from neighbouring villages. Fear walked freely now. Mzee Baraka stood at the center, leaning on his carved staff. Around him sat elders wrapped in dark cloth, their faces serious. Hunters stood nearby, spears in hand. The village chief watched from his stool, worry carved deep into his brow. Amina stood apart, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "This matter is not small," Mzee Baraka said. "Enkoro Yadamu has returned after many seasons. Where it walks, blood often follows." A murmur rose from the crowd. An elder woman spoke. Why did it choose her? Mzee Baraka's eyes moved to Amina. The spirits choose paths, not comfort. Another elder added, the object was taken to the police station. That place has no protection, no sacred ground, the spirits are angry. The chief cleared his throat. What must be done? Silence fell. Then Mzee Baraka spoke slowly. We must seek the truth. The object did not appear by itself. Someone placed it in her bag. Gasps spread through the crowd. Someone from this land, a hunter asked. Or from the forest, another replied. Amina lifted her head. I did not see anyone, she said softly. I slept alone. Mzee Baraka nodded. That does not mean you were alone. That same morning, strange things began to happen in Kijana village. A goat collapsed near the river, foam at its mouth. A hunter's spear snapped in half for no reason. A baby cried all day and would not be comforted. The river ran darker than usual, carrying leaves and dead fish downstream. Fear grew like fire fed by dry grass. By afternoon, clouds gathered low and heavy. The air smelled of rain and iron. Amina walked to the river to fetch water, hoping the familiar task would calm her heart. As she knelt, filling her calabash, she felt it again. That feeling, as if she was not alone. The river's surface rippled, though there was no wind. Her reflection wavered. For a brief moment, another face appeared beside hers in the water, an old face scarred with empty eyes. Amina screamed and fell backward. When she looked again, the river showed only her own frightened face. She ran back to the village, breathless. That night, the elders decided to act. We cannot wait, Mzee Baraka said. The object must be returned to where it belongs or destroyed if possible. Returned where? The chief asked. The Red Hills, the elder replied, where the old cult once lived, where Enkoro Yadamu was first carved. A hush fell. The Red Hills lay beyond the forest, beyond the savannah, near the mountains where spirits were said to walk freely. Few who went there returned unchanged. Amina felt every eye turn toward her. You must go, Mzee Baraka said gently. Her knees weakened. Me. The spirits tied it to you, he said. Only the chosen can carry its path to the end. A hunter named Kato, tall and strong, stepped forward. I will go with her. Others joined, 2 warriors, a healer woman named Nalia, and an elder drummer to guide them with sacred rhythms. At dawn, the journey began. They left the village as mist clung to the ground. Drums beat softly behind them, calling protection. Women wailed low prayers. Children watched silently. As they walked into the forest, the light changed. Trees closed around them. The air grew cool and damp. Birds fell silent. Only their footsteps and the soft beat of the drum remained. Amina walked at the center, her heart heavy but steady. She did not know why she had been chosen. But she knew one thing. The spirits were not finished with her. And the deeper they walked into the forest, the louder the whispers became. The forest swallowed them slowly. Tall trees rose on both sides of the narrow path, their branches twisting together like clasped hands. Thick vines hung low, brushing shoulders and faces. The light above was broken, falling in moving patches on the ground. The smell of damp earth, old leaves and unseen water filled the air. Amina walked at the center of the group. Her steps were careful, steady, though fear lived in her chest like a trapped bird. The drumbeat behind her was soft but constant, a slow rhythm meant to guide spirits and protect human feet. Kato walked ahead, his spear held firmly. His eyes moved from side to side, watching for signs, broken branches, disturbed soil, strange markings. Nalia followed close to Amina, her small leather pouch filled with herbs and bones that rattled softly with every step. No one spoke. The forest did not welcome noise. As they walked deeper, the air grew colder. A strange mist crawled along the ground, wrapping around ankles like pale snakes. Somewhere far off, something howled, not an animal sound, but not human either. The sound faded quickly, leaving a deep silence behind. Amina felt it again. The pull. Not from her bag this time, but from her chest. Her heart beat in a different rhythm, not matching her steps. With every drumbeat, a memory stirred, memories that were not hers. She stumbled. Nalia caught her arm. Steady, she whispered. Amina nodded, breathing hard. I hear voices, she said quietly. They are not speaking with mouths. Nalia's face tightened. Do not answer them. They walked on. After many hours, the forest began to thin. The trees grew shorter, twisted by wind and time. Rocks pushed through the soil like broken bones. Ahead, the land opened into a wide clearing. The drums stopped. At the center of the clearing stood something ancient. Stone pillars, cracked and leaning, formed a rough circle. Symbols were carved deep into them, symbols older than the village, older than remembered time. In the middle lay a flat stone stained dark, even after many seasons of rain. Kato swallowed. This is a ritual ground. Mzee Baraka stepped forward slowly, his staff tapping the earth. Yes, he said, this is where blood was once spoken to like a language. The air here felt heavy, pressing down on the chest. Even the birds avoided the place. Amina felt dizzy, her vision blurred. The ground beneath her feet seemed to pulse. Then it happened. The world tilted. The clearing vanished. Amina stood alone. She was no longer in the forest. She stood in the same clearing, but it was alive with people, men and women dressed in old cloth, their faces painted red and black. Fires burned around the stone circle. Drums thundered loudly. Smoke rose thick and choking. She tried to speak, but no sound came. At the center of the stone lay a man bound with rope, his eyes wide with terror. Around him stood elders with hollow faces, chanting words that twisted the air. A carved figure lay on the stone. Enkoro Yadamu. But it was new then, fresh, hungry. Amina felt pain in her chest as if the blade touched her own skin. She felt blood spill, not onto the stone, but into the earth itself. The earth drank. A voice rose above the drums, deep, ancient and cold. Blood binds memory, memory binds land. Amina screamed and fell to the ground. The forest rushed back. She gasped for air, clutching her chest. The group surrounded her, fear clear on their faces. She has seen, Nalia whispered. Amina sat up slowly. Tears streamed down her face, though she had not felt them fall. I saw how it was born, she said. Enkoro Yadamu was made with blood that did not belong to the land. It was stolen blood. Mzee Baraka's grip tightened on his staff. Stolen from whom? Amina shook her head. From many, from travelers, from children, from those who trusted. The wind rose suddenly, circling the stone pillars. The symbols carved into them glowed faintly, the same dying red she had seen at the police station. Kato stepped back. We should leave this place. No, Mzee Baraka said firmly, not yet. The elder turned to Amina. The spirits showed you this for a reason. What else did you see? Amina closed her eyes, her body trembled. I saw a face, she said, not from the past, from now. Silence fell. Whose face? Kato asked. Amina opened her eyes slowly. Someone from our land, someone still living. Fear spread through the group like smoke. Before anyone could speak again, a sharp cry echoed from the forest edge. One of the warriors fell to the ground, clutching his leg. Blood seeped between his fingers. A deep cut had opened across his calf, as if sliced by an invisible blade. Spirits, he shouted. The mist thickened. Shapes moved between the trees, tall, thin shadows that bent and stretched unnaturally. Whispers filled the air, overlapping, pressing into ears and minds. Lever. Return. Blood calls blood. Nalia threw herbs into the air. Mzee Baraka began to chant, his voice steady but strained. The drummer struck his drum hard, fast rhythms cutting through the whispers. Amina stood. She did not know how she found the strength, but she stood. The shadows paused. She stepped toward the stone circle, her heart pounding. I know why you came to me, she said aloud. You want the truth known. The wind howled. Images flashed in her mind, her mother's face, tired but kind. Her mother's voice telling her never to lie to the ancestors. A memory struck her like lightning. Her bag. Her mother's bag. Amina turned sharply to Mzee Baraka. My mother, she said, she once travelled near the Red Hills. The elder's eyes widened, many years ago. She returned sick, Amina continued. She never said why she died not long after. The forest seemed to lean closer. The face I saw, Amina whispered. It was hers, she was part of the blood that fed Enkoro Yadamu. A cry tore from her throat. The shadows screamed. The ground shook. The stone pillars cracked further, pieces falling away. From the centre of the ritual stone, dark liquid seeped out, soaking into the soil. Mzee Baraka shouted, the truth has been spoken. The whispers grew louder, then suddenly stopped. The shadows dissolved into mist. Silence fell heavy and final. Amina collapsed to her knees, sobbing. The healer knelt beside her, holding her. You did not know, Nalia said softly. The spirits know this. But peace did not come. Because truth alone was not enough. Mzee Baraka looked toward the distant mountains, his face grave. Now we know who fed the object, he said, but it still exists. Kato tightened his grip on his spear, and it will demand payment. Amina lifted her head, eyes burning with grief and resolve. Then I will face it, she said, not as its carrier. She stood slowly. But as its ending. Thunder rolled across the sky, though no rain fell. The journey was no longer just about returning an object. It was about breaking a curse rooted in blood, memory and betrayal. And the spirits were watching closely. The forest did not release them easily. After the truth rose from the ritual ground, the air felt changed heavier, as if the land itself was listening more closely. The group moved in silence, their footsteps slow, careful. Even the drum was quiet now, carried but not played, its skin cold under the drummer's hand. Amina walked forward with her head high, but inside her heart was breaking. Her mother's face stayed with her, tired eyes, gentle hands, secrets buried too deep. Amina had loved her without knowing the weight she carried. Now that weight pressed on Amina's chest, making every breath feel earned. Nalia walked close beside her. Do not let guilt eat you, she whispered. What was done before you were born is not yours to carry alone. Amina nodded but said nothing. The forest slowly gave way to open land, trees thinned, the earth turned rocky and dry. In the distance the red hills rose like sleeping giants, their slopes dark and sharp against the sky. Above them clouds gathered, thick and bruised, moving in slow circles. The wind grew stronger as they climbed. It whistled through stones, carrying faint sounds that felt like voices stretched thin by distance. By the time they reached the lower hills, the sun was already sinking. Shadows pooled between rocks. The land here felt old, older than villages, older than names. They made camp near a narrow ravine. A small fire was lit, its flames weak against the rising wind. No one spoke much. Food tasted like ash in their mouths. As night fell, the drums began again, slow, low, steady. The rhythm echoed off the hills, travelling far into the dark. Amina stared into the fire. The flames shifted and twisted, and for a moment she saw faces in them, watching, waiting. She blinked and the faces were gone. Sleep came late and lightly. Amina dreamed of walking alone through the hills. In the dream, her bag hung heavy at her side again. She tried to open it, but her hands were covered in blood that would not wash away. Voices whispered from the ground. Return what was taken. Pay what is owed. She woke with a sharp gasp. The fire had burned low, the wind howled louder now, someone was missing. Kato, one of the warriors, said softly, scanning the dark. Panic rose quickly. They searched around the camp, calling his name in low voices. Footprints led away toward the ravine, pressed deep into the dirt as if the earth had pulled him. Mzee Baraka's face was tight. This is wrong. They followed the trail. The ravine opened into a narrow path leading higher into the hills. There, standing between two tall stones, was Kato. He held something in his hands. The wrapped object. Enkoro Yadamu. Amina's heart slammed against her ribs. Kato, she called, put it down. He turned slowly. His eyes were not his own. They were dark, empty, reflecting no firelight, no stars. It speaks, he said calmly. It showed me power, it showed me why our land suffers. Mzee Baraka stepped forward. Do not listen, it feeds on desire. Kato laughed softly. You speak of spirits, old man, but you hide truths. Our villages grow weak, our enemies grow strong. This object can protect us. The wind screamed suddenly, rushing through the stones. The hills seemed to groan. Amina stepped forward despite the fear gripping her legs. It lies, she said. It only takes, it never protects. Kato's grip tightened around the object. The cloth slipped, revealing the carved figure beneath. Its symbols glowed brighter now, red like fresh blood. The metal nails vibrated, humming softly. You were chosen, Kato said, staring at Amina. But you are afraid, let me carry it. The ground shook. Cracks opened in the stone beneath their feet. From the ravine below, dark mist rose, thick and alive. Nalia shouted, throwing herbs into the air. The drummer struck the drum hard, fast, desperate rhythms fighting the rising hum of the object. Mzee Baraka raised his staff and began a powerful chant, calling on ancestors older than the hills. Kato, Amina shouted, your blood is not meant for this. For a moment Kato's face flickered, pain crossed his features, his hands trembled. Then the object pulsed. Kato screamed. The mist surged forward, wrapping around him, lifting him slightly off the ground. The carved figure glowed brighter, feeding. Amina ran forward. She did not think. She grabbed the object with both hands. Pain exploded through her arms, burning, freezing, tearing at her soul. Images flooded her mind, every death, every betrayal, every lie that fed the blood keeper. She screamed but did not let go. Kato, she cried, remember who you are. The drumbeat changed, slower, deeper. Mzee Baraka's chant rose, strong and clear, cutting through the chaos. The mist recoiled. Kato collapsed to the ground, unconscious. The object fell from Amina's hands onto the stone path, cracking the rock beneath it. The glow dimmed slightly. Amina fell to her knees, gasping. Nalia rushed to her, holding her shoulders. You are alive, she whispered in disbelief. But the hills were not done. A deep rumble rose from beneath the ground. The mountains answered the disturbance, their ancient anger stirred. From the shadows ahead, figures emerged. Not shadows. Spirits. Tall, thin forms shaped like people but made of smoke and ash. Their eyes burned faintly red. They moved without sound, surrounding the group. Mzee Baraka bowed his head. Guardians of the Red Hills, he said, we come to end what was begun in blood. One spirit stepped forward. Its voice was like wind through broken stone. Blood was given willingly, it said. Blood must be returned willingly. Amina felt the meaning sink into her bones. The spirit turned to her. Carrier of memory, it said, will you pay the price? Fear tightened around her heart. She thought of her mother, of her village, of children playing under the baobab tree. Yes, Amina said quietly, if it frees the land. The spirits raised their arms. The ground split open further ahead, revealing a deep pit lined with stone and old bones, the heart of the Red Hills. The spirit spoke again. At dawn, the blood keeper must be destroyed in the pit, but destruction demands sacrifice. Amina's breath shook. What sacrifice? Nalia asked, her voice breaking. The spirit's gaze remained on Amina. Truth, it said, pain, and a piece of the carrier's life. Silence fell. Amina nodded slowly. She had walked this far. There was no turning back. The night stretched long and heavy as the group waited for dawn, knowing the next day would decide the fate of the land. And somewhere deep within the hills, Nkoro Yadamu waited, hungry, wounded, but not yet defeated. The night before dawn was the longest of Amina's life. The camp stood silent on the edge of the great pit carved into the Red Hills. No fire burned now. The spirits had forbidden it. Only moonlight touched the rocks, pale and cold, making the bones lining the pit glow like white eyes staring upward. Nkoro Yadamu lay wrapped on the ground between two stones. Even covered, its presence pressed against the air. The wind avoided it. The drum rested silent, its skin tight as if afraid to breathe. Amina sat near the edge of the pit, her knees drawn to her chest. She felt empty. Not weak, but hollow, like a calabash poured dry. Nalia sat beside her, grinding herbs slowly between her palms. The soft sound was the only movement in the stillness. Kato will live, Nalia said gently, breaking the silence. The spirits released him. Amina nodded. Kato lay sleeping a short distance away, his chest rising and falling slowly. His face looked younger now, freed from the hunger that had taken him. Will I? Amina asked quietly. Nalia did not answer. Across the camp, Mzee Baraka stood facing the mountains. He had not sat since the spirits appeared. His shadow stretched long across the rocks, thin and bent, yet unbroken. The ancestors are awake, he said without turning. They have not gathered like this in many generations. Amina lifted her eyes to the sky. The stars seemed sharper tonight, closer, like watching eyes. She felt small beneath them, yet strangely calm. Her mother's voice came to her then, not from the wind, not from the earth, but from memory. When the river is angry, do not fight it. Listen. Tears filled Amina's eyes, but they did not fall. As the sky began to pale, the spirits returned. They rose from the pit like mist pulled upward by unseen hands. Tall, silent, powerful, the earth trembled softly beneath their presence. The lead spirit raised its arm. It is time, it said. The drumbeat began again, slow and deep, echoing through the hills. Each beat felt like a step closer to the end. Mzee Baraka motioned to Amina. She stood. Her legs felt steady, her heart did not race. Fear was there, but it no longer ruled her. Together they approached Nkoro Yadamu. As Amina knelt and untied the cloth, the object pulsed violently, as if sensing what was coming. The symbols burned bright red now, lighting the stones around it. A low hum filled the air, growing louder with each heartbeat. The spirits did not move. Blood Keeper, the lead spirit spoke, your feeding ends today. The object vibrated fiercely. The nails drove themselves deeper into the wood. A voice rose from it, not one voice but many layered together, crying, pleading, threatening. Amina's hands shook as she lifted it. The pain returned immediately, sharper than before. It raced up her arms into her chest, tearing through memories. She saw everything. Her mother kneeling in fear, strangers dragged into the hills, the elders who lied, the cult that believed power could replace humanity, the land crying as blood soaked into it again and again. Amina cried out, but she did not drop the object. Speak, the spirit commanded her. Amina turned to the pit, the wind howled upward from its depths. My name is Amina, daughter of this land, she said, her voice shaking but clear. I carry the truth of what was stolen, I return it now. The object screamed. The sound ripped through the hills, bouncing off stone and bone. The ground cracked further. Rocks fell into the pit, vanishing into darkness. Throw it, Mzee Baraka urged. Amina stepped forward. The Blood Keeper fought her. The object grew heavier with each step, pulling at her arms, her chest, her breath. Her knees buckled. Blood trickled from her nose, her vision blurred. You are nothing without me, the voices hissed. I made you chosen. Amina remembered the village, the baobab tree, children laughing, her mother's gentle hands. I was chosen before you, she whispered, by life. With a final cry, she hurled Nkoro Yadamu into the pit. The moment it left her hands, the world exploded. A roar rose from the depths, shaking the mountains. Red light burst upward, cutting through the dawn. The spirits raised their arms, chanting words older than language. The pit swallowed the light. The scream cut off suddenly. Silence. Then, the hills breathed out. The wind softened, the drumbeat slowed then stopped, the ground stilled beneath their feet. Amina collapsed. Nalia caught her as she fell. Her body was cold, her breath shallow. The healer pressed herbs to her lips, whispering prayers. The spirits hovered over Amina. It is not finished, the lead spirit said. The sacrifice remains. Mzee Baraka stepped forward. She has given pain, she has given truth. What more is demanded? The spirit looked down at Amina. A piece of her life, it said, not death but change. The spirit touched Amina's forehead. She gasped sharply. A vision tore through her, her future unfolding in fragments. She saw herself older, hair streaked with grey, eyes deeper, walking paths between villages. She saw people coming to her with fear and hope. She saw spirits standing beside her, listening. She would never live a quiet life. She would never belong to one place again. The spirit withdrew its hand. She will walk between worlds, it said, as witness, as warning. The spirits began to fade, sinking back into the earth and the air. The pit slowly sealed, stones sliding back into place as if guided by unseen hands. The mountains fell silent. The sun rose fully then, spilling warm light across the red hills. Amina opened her eyes. She breathed. Nalia laughed through tears. Kato pushed himself up, staring around in awe. Mzee Baraka sank to his knees, pressing his forehead to the ground. "It is done," he whispered. But Amina felt the change inside her. She was lighter and heavier at the same time. Enkoro Yadamu was gone. But its lesson remained, carved into her soul. And the land had been watching. The journey back from the red hills was quiet. Not the heavy silence of fear, but the deep silence that comes after a storm has passed. The land looked different now. The rocks seemed less sharp. The wind no longer screamed through the hills but moved gently, like a tired elder finally resting. Amina walked at the front. Her steps were slow but steady. The others followed, Kato, still weak but alive, Nalia watching Amina closely, Mzee Baraka leaning heavily on his staff. The warriors and drummer, their faces changed by what they had witnessed. No one spoke. They did not need to. When they reached the edge of the forest, birds began to sing again. Real birds, not warning cries, not spirit calls, simple life sounds. Leaves rustled softly. Sunlight filtered through the branches in warm, broken lines. The forest was healing. So was the land beyond it. As they crossed back into the savannah, Amina felt it clearly. The pull was gone. The weight that had lived in her chest since the morning she found the object had finally lifted. The whispers were silent. The air around her felt clean. But something else had taken its place. Awareness. She could feel the land breathing beneath her feet. She could sense where pain once lived and where peace was slowly returning. It was not a voice, it was knowing. By the time they reached Kijana village, the sun was already low. Word had travelled ahead of them. People waited near the baobab tree, women, elders, hunters, children standing close to their mothers. When Amina stepped into the village, all movement stopped. For a moment, no one spoke. Then an old woman began to cry, not in fear but in relief. "The air feels lighter," someone whispered. "The river runs clear again," another said. The village chief stepped forward. He studied Amina carefully, as if seeing her for the first time. "You went to the Red Hills," he said, "and returned." "Yes," Amina replied simply. "Where is the object?" "Gone," Mzee Baraka answered. "Return to the earth," ended. A murmur rose, then slowly faded into silence. That night the village gathered around a great fire. Drums played, not warning rhythms, not spirit calls, but songs of survival and memory. Food was shared. Children laughed again. Amina sat slightly apart, watching the flames dance. People approached her quietly. Some bowed their heads, some thanked her, some only looked at her with wide eyes and walked away. She felt no pride. Only responsibility. Later that night, when the fire burned low and most had gone to sleep, Mzee Baraka sat beside her. "The spirits marked you," he said gently. "Your life will not return to what it was." Amina nodded. "I know." "You may leave this village," he continued, "or stay, the choice is yours." Amina stared into the embers. She thought of her mother, of secrets buried too long, of pain that grows when hidden. "I will walk," she said finally, "not to escape but to remind." Mzee Baraka smiled sadly. "Then you will be known as a bridge." In the days that followed, change spread quietly. The river cleared completely. Crops that had withered began to stand tall again. Nightmares that haunted the children faded. The land responded as it always did when truth was finally spoken. Amina prepared to leave at dawn. Nalia hugged her tightly. "You will come back," she said. "Yes," Amina replied, "but I will not belong to only one place." Kato stepped forward last. His eyes were full of regret. "I listened to hunger," he said. "You listened to life." Amina touched his arm. "Remember that feeling," she said, "and teach it." As the sun rose, Amina walked away from Kijana village, her bag light on her shoulder. Inside it were simple things again: water, cloth, dried food. No objects. No secrets. She walked toward other villages, other forests, other lands that carried quiet wounds. And everywhere she went, she told the same story. Not of power, not of spirits, but of truth. She spoke of how Enkoro Yadamu was born from greed and silence, how blood fed lies and lies poisoned the land, how fear grows when people hide what must be faced. She told them that the spirits do not punish without reason. They only reflect what humans plant. Seasons passed. Years passed. Amina's hair began to change, her eyes grew deeper, sharper, kinder. People began to recognize her before she spoke. Elders welcomed her. Children listened closely. They called her she who returned the blood to the earth. And the land remembered. The moral was carried not in fear, but in understanding. What is taken unjustly will always demand return. What is hidden in silence will grow in darkness. Only truth spoken and faced can heal both people and land. Power built on blood destroys. Power built on honesty protects. And so the ancestors watched. And the land breathed. The end